of you, but not all. So I'm Kerry Griffiths, and I'm one of the teachers in Foxglove class.
I'm Liz Blunt, and I'm the other teacher in Foxglove class. So Kerry does Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I do Thursday, Friday.
I'm Nick Brown. I'm the teacher in the Blaywell class. That's the mixed class of year 3 and 4.
And I am Jane Davis, so I'm the teacher in Snowdrop class, year 3. I teach the class Tuesday to Friday, and Mrs. Gaskell has them on a Monday.
Thanks. Okay, first of all, we just want to say it's super to have the children in school. We're delighted to see them all again. I'm so glad that we're able to have everybody in school, and the children seem to have settled in very well into their new classes and back into school life, even though there are some things that are being done a little bit differently, but being children, they adapt much better, in fact, than we do. We have, all our classes have done a social charter, which we did on the first day. So I'll just read an example of one for you. There's a lot of bullet points in here that are about the things that are different, so it's a little bit different to a normal year. So to keep ourselves and others safe, we promise to socially distance wherever we can, wash our hands for 20 seconds, stay in our big bubble areas at all times, distance when lining up, using the toilets and washing our hands, look after our own resources, share socially distant games, catch it, bin it, kill it, and follow the golden rules. We also did lots of work with the children about their individual goals and targets for the year, and those things are up in our classroom for them to share with each other. So first of all, we're going to talk to you about the curriculum and what's happening in terms of any questions you might have about catch-up. So maths, first of all, we are teaching the normal maths subjects within the usual curriculum for our year groups. However, all of the areas that we cover have also got catch-up objectives. So we're able to go back over and revisit any of the skills that the children either didn't have a chance to cover in the previous year or have forgotten about because it's been such a long time since they've been using them for some of them. We largely look at 2 areas, so fluency, which is, if you like, the mechanics of maths, the methods, the numbers, and then mastery, so the reasoning tasks, where there might be more open-ended problems to be solved. So we're able to give that full range to the children that need it. There will be a different balance depending on what your child's been doing, where they are in their year group, how they're feeling, whether they've got gaps, where they need to get that extra support or where they need to then be challenged. There's a huge focus on times tables in year 3 and 4, but particularly in year 4, and Nick's going to talk a bit more about that later. In terms of English, so we have a big focus on books. We teach our English writing and reading through specific books that we use the same year books across year 3 and 4. It means that we are giving the children good exposure to age-appropriate books and challenging vocabulary within those books. There is a stretch on vocabulary. And in terms of the spelling, punctuation and grammar, again, there's 2 levels. So there's what we call the gateway skills or the key, which is previously taught skills. So punctuation, spellings, grammar that the children should have had experience of before that will lead them into the type of writing that we're doing. Again, that's really good for catch-up because we're going back over the things that they've seen before, reinforcing that and filling gaps where we need to. There is, with all of the units as well, the mastery. So taking that further, extending the writing, extending each of those areas, spelling, punctuation and grammar. All of the children are exposed to all of those objectives. So we don't limit the things that we're necessarily expecting from the children, But again, obviously we'd have a balance of expectations and focus for the individual children. It's really about engaging with, as I said, vocabulary, different genres of writing, and those areas of grammar. Spelling, as I say, is done through those books, but also we look at the Year 3-4 spelling list requirements, which we will send out at some point. And we look at spelling patterns as well. We look at exception words, and if necessary, we'll be looking at phonics as well across any of the Year 3-4 children, which is essential for us to ensure that we do catch up and that each child is able to work at their level on spellings and build up through Year 3 and 4. Reading, again, very book focused on a theme that links to the writing units that we're doing. So we've got new books that we're using for guided reading, which is always very exciting because it's good for us to have those new books as well and that new challenge and focus. And the link is made in terms of the type of book. So we've got animals at the moment because we're going on to an animal book in our writing after we've done this initial catch-up unit for a couple of weeks. And then we have an animal themed book as well in reading. Again, different levels of challenge in there depending on the areas that your child needs to work on. Liz is going to tell you about the reading challenge.
Yeah, so with regard to individual reading books, some of your children will have already come home with them from school. Obviously, if they're already on free readers, they can choose from a selection of books that we have in our classroom, or they can choose a book from home. And those free readers books can be brought to and from school. The children should have all been given a new reading record, or if they've still got their old one, they could carry on with it. If your child is not yet a free reader, we will be working out where they are, benchmarking them in school, and then giving them the age-appropriate books through school. Some of that has already been done, and it's being done through this week as well. Also, some of you may have already heard about it, some of you may have done it last year. We've set up a reading challenge in each of the classes. Basically, they have to do 100 reads. And one read is a certain number of pages. So depending on where your child is at, one read could be 5 pages or one read could be 10 pages. So if one read is 5 pages, then they'll need to do 50 pages to get to the first star, which is 10 reads. And then there's 10 stars that they can progress through. And once they get to 100 reads, Mrs. Harding has a nice bag of prizes for them where they can choose something from. Now, obviously, if the number of pages is too easy or too hard for your child, please just phone us, speak to us, and we can change that level to help them. Obviously, we were trying to support and encourage them to read. And I'm now going to hand over to Mr. Brown.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go through a little bit about homework, spellings and things like that. So for those of you that have been Year 4 parents with us last year, very, very similar. So children will be set homework on a Wednesday, usually for the following Wednesday. It will be a maths task, which could be set on My Maths, which is an online system that we use, or it could be a paper-based one. If it's a paper-based one, then we will send home their homework books as well. And we ask for paper-based ones to be brought back in for the following Monday, which just gives us time to mark them and get the next one ready for the following Wednesday. They'll also be given spellings on a Wednesday. I think all classes have been, all classes have been given their spellings for this week. So they've got spellings to learn for next Wednesday. Next Wednesday, they'll be tested on those words, and then they'll get a new set of words to learn the following week. In regard to My Maths, the children have got the same logins that they had last year if they were with us. If they're new to the school, then they have got new logins. I think those logins have all been sent home today if they're not already. I know my class have got them stuck in the inside of their reading records. A letter came home actually explaining how to log on. So if you've forgotten how to log on before, or if it's new to you, the instructions are there just because there's 2 levels to the login. If you do have any problems, as before, just give us a shout. We'll do what we can to help. Next thing we're going to go through is times tables tests. So the year fours, as Kerry mentioned, they're a big focus for times tables. So they will, at the end of the year in June, they'll do a times table test, which is an online one, and it will be up to 12 times 12, and the children get 6 seconds per question to answer. So it's very, very fast. So that's why it's such a big focus for us, and we're starting working on that from year 3. To help with that, we do have a system in place called Times Table Rockstars. It's a website that the children have all got logins into. The login is the same as their My Maths login. So all they need to do is log in. If they're asked for a school, obviously you just type in Tarpley and it will come up in the drop down box, and then they can go on and they can practice their times table tests. What it also does is it will learn the times tables that they need to do. So if they're on what's called the studio, it'll give them random questions, and the questions might be too hard, because what the computer is trying to do is just work out where their gaps are. And then once it knows where they are, it will start giving them more appropriate questions that they need to practice. So obviously it's just a really good practice. Any practice you can do at home with them, the children tend to love it. They can send challenges to us, they can send challenges to each other, they get coins and they can buy things for their characters and things like that. It's like guitars and new hairstyles. So the children do really get into it, and it does become quite a competition, especially like they do like sending us challenges as well to see if they can beat us, which can get a little bit frightening with some of the speeds that they can do as they progress. Other bit of housekeeping really, PE kits, obviously the children did it this week. Monday and Wednesday are PE days, so children can come in PE kits like they've done this week. From Monday, a group of year 4 children will go swimming on a Monday morning. The letter about that will come out tomorrow for which children are going to go. The reason we're having to go into small groups is because that is all the portal will allow us to take. We've got limits on how many people we can have on poolside at any one time. So we're taking small groups, and year 4 will go throughout this term and the spring term. If the rules change and we can take more children, then we'll look at changing things if we can. Residentials, we do have a residential booked. Whether that goes ahead or not is going to completely depend on the regulations. We've provisionally booked Minidon in Wales, which apparently a lot of the year 6, Mrs. Blunt tells me that a lot of the year 6s said was their highlight of the year in last year's year 6 assembly. So it's a really loved residential by the children. The plan at the moment is, if we can go, is that the children in year 4 will go Monday to Wednesday, and the year 3s will then do Wednesday to Friday, and they'll have different activities throughout that time. We'll bring out more information if and when we know it's going to go ahead. And then I think I can hand over to any questions that we've got. I think that's everything covered, guys, isn't it?
So yes.
Yep.
So if we look at the questionnaire we've had, is there a plan to carry out initial assessment to understand strengths and weaknesses? So would we communicate that level to parents so that you can focus on things at home? We're not doing formal assessments or tests in all areas. We are benchmarking some of the readers, those who are not free readers, and we are doing phonics assessments for those children where it's appropriate. What we will do then is set spellings, for example, with phonics or maths homework that's appropriate to what they're working on and the objectives that we would really like to have you support with at home. If it's about their reading, then we'll use their reading diary to communicate about where they're up to and if there are specific things that they could work on with their reading. I hope that's helpful.
We also said with
April. Do you know the date?
Yes, it's April the 26th. So for year 4, the whole of year 4 would go April 26th to the 28th, Monday to the Wednesday lunchtime. and then year 3 will do the second half of that week, 28th to 30th of April.
With regards to assessments, we talked about, we have our normal assessment weeks that we carry out, so we'll just be
No, so
carrying
year
those
3 and 4
normal.
will
Do mini.
well, the plan is to do the residential at mini Don, but as separate year groups.
An update on individuals.
So when we will have an update on individuals, we'll obviously do that at whatever parents' evening is. I guess we don't know quite what format that's going to be in yet. But if you do want to discuss anything about your own child, then I know we're not in the position to meet you at the moment, but if you contact the office by email or phone, they can arrange for us to give you a call and we can talk specifically about your child then.
In terms of year 3, we're sorry, technical difficulties. Question about year 3 doing swimming lessons. At the moment, it's not feasible for us to get all the children through in the small groups for swimming. If things change, we may look at putting year 3 through swimming lessons this year. If we're not able to, then obviously they will go as year 4s next year. I think that's it.
Questions.
Unless we have any more.
Just give it a sec.
Anyone has any more questions, if you just want to pop them into the chat. Just to clarify, the current guidance states that we are not allowed to do residentials at all. So there is some day visits that allowed that are COVID secure places, and the full risk assessments take place. So regarding the residential, that will be if the guidance allows us to do that. As soon as we'll know, then we would get back to you and share that information with you.
SATS assessments for year 3s who missed it last year. There are no plans for us to do SATS assessments for year 3s who missed. Yeah, so with the reading challenge, we'll let the children know, and it'll be written in their reading diary for when they are benchmarked, how many pages that they need to do for each read.
Yeah, I know Foxgloves have already got it marked inside their reading records. It says on inside 1 page equals so many, 1 read equals so many pages. So yeah.
Okay, if there's any more questions you'd like to ask. If not, then I'd just like to say thank you to everyone who's attended our meeting. I hope you have found that useful, and we will be putting the recorded video on to the class pages. So the website pages will have the class booklet with all this information in, and they will also have the recording of this if you want to go back and check anything that's been said that you might have missed out on. Please let us know. I think we've answered all of your questions. It's, you know, it is a shame that the children missed out on residentials last year, but they might miss out on them again this year, I'm afraid. So we'll do our very, very best that we can in the circumstances we're in. And thank you all for just being so supportive with everything that we've put in place. Is there anything, Mr. Brown or Miss Davis, Mrs. Blunt or Mrs. Griffiths, that you'd like to add?
Got a couple last minute questions.
Yeah.
Phonics check for a question about phonics check for those children who were in year 2 who were supposed to complete it. They will not be doing a phonics check like they would have done in year 2, but as mentioned, we will be doing a phonics assessment in school and then targeting children with whichever phonics phase that they need to do throughout this year. So the phonics teaching will go ahead, but the phonics assessment will not, in its statutory form, I should say. And then we've got one about new starters, assessment and parent conversations. Yes, so for any new starters, if class teachers have not spoken to you directly yet on the phone, then we will be doing that very soon. If you want to contact the office just to get your conversation booked in with us, more than happy to do that with a convenient time.
One about the topics.
Oh, go on, yeah.
There's another one coming about what topics the children will be starting. So we've put our curriculum of the topics we're doing and what we're covering in all the subjects on our class pages. So you can read all of it in detail there, but we are doing the ancient Greeks in history, if that's helpful.
It's in the newsletter, and it's the second page of the newsletter that has all of that detail.
Okay, so unless there's any more questions, thank you all for coming, and thank you to our wonderful teachers for all of that information. And take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Do the wave. You've got to do the wave.
Do it.